What's up, coaches? It's Coach Ross with Coach Ross Football. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. This channel is dedicated to the spread offense, primarily the air raid offense, talking about passing schemes, running schemes, installation, practice plans, drills, anything and everything you name it under the spread offense umbrella. We talk about it on this channel, try and cover it in great detail. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. Also, if you like this video, give it a like. Helps the channel grow, helps the video get seen. So this video right here is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be breaking down schemes. We're not going to be breaking down running schemes, passing schemes, blocking. This is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a video because I realized that I did not make a video like this before. Um, it's about my philosophy on the offense. If someone were to ask me what my philosophy is or break down my philosophy for the offense, then how do I put that into words and then how do I put that into action with regards to installing the offense? This is what it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to walk you through my philosophy for a spread offense, primarily an air raid offense. And if you want to pick and choose out of this and use it as your own, by all means. That's essentially what I did with this. I borrowed and stole certain things from some coaches and made it my own. And I'm totally fine and totally encourage you to do the same thing. So if some of these things hit true to you, um, by all means, by all means, take them and claim it as yours. It's okay because us as coaches, we're trying to grow together as a community, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to share with you my philosophy on coaching, my philosophy on the air raid offense, especially, and diving deep into what I'm thinking about and how I translate that, or essentially translate that philosophy, that way of thinking into the offense that in the product that I try and put out into the field. So again, like I said, a little bit different of a video, so just bear with me. You can skip through the different parts of the video because it's gonna be broken down into little sections. But this is my philosophy on on why I chose the air raid offense, why I chose this type of offense, and just what I'm thinking in general and how I want my offense to run and how I want it to look. So, hope you enjoy the video again. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so, and let's get into it. As you can see, here's the breakdown for what I'm going to go through here. This is kind of like that little table of contents here. So, we got the air raid, no huddle system, the tempo, and style of offense. I'm going to break down all of these a little bit more detail here. So, it's an attack mindset, formations over plays, basic rules, motion and shifts, small and simple playbook. This is O lineman friendly, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not an O line coach. I don't pretend to be. I know the basics. I've looked for a really strong offensive line coach to help me out with that. Um, so try and make this as friendly for the O line as possible. Practice equals execution. I'm a firm believer of that, and then just striving to get better. So all of this combined is my philosophy on the air raid offense. Now, obviously, I've stolen and borrowed things from other coaches and kind of made them mine, which I totally understand. Like I said in the intro, I totally understand if that's what you decide to do with yours as well. Totally fine, makes a difference to me. I just want to share this out because I realize that it's been so long and the channel's grown so much. And I don't think I've ever really kind of gone over my philosophy of the offense and why I kind of chose the air raid offense and why I fell in love with it. So I kind of wanted just to share this out. So again, this is if you're looking for an X's and O's type of video, this one is not going to be it. Those are coming. I got a lot more in store coming here. But this one is just kind of a change of pace. First step here we're going to talk about is the air raid no huddle system. All right, so I want to spread out the defense to create natural throwing windows and natural running lanes. Now, everybody automatically assumes they hear air raid, they automatically think you're throwing the ball 90% of the time and barely running the ball. And if you don't run the ball at all, that's fine. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Couldn't be further from the truth. I love running the football, and I want to take and do what the defense gives me. All right. So if they're going to give me a five-man box, then yeah, I'm going to run the ball and I'm going to run the ball until they stop it. But if they're gonna load the box up and they're gonna give me that space on the outside or they're gonna give me the space in the middle of the field, then that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna attack those weaknesses in the defense. So, and I feel that the air raid offense allows you to do that the best because of the play setup, the structure, the thought process. Because again, In my opinion, and most of other people's opinions, the air raid offense is not a set of plays. It's a mindset. It's a philosophy on throwing the ball short into open windows, open space, getting your athletes, your most dynamic athletes, the ball quickly in space and letting them just do what they do, letting them be an athlete. And that means throwing the ball short. And you throw the ball short enough times, eventually that opens up other things in the offense, which means down the field over the shots, and then it opens up the running lane. So how do you do that? You spread the defense out. And I love that. I love spreading the defense out. I don't want to have everything, I don't want to play football in a phone booth. All right. I want to try and tire the defense out. I want to take their will, not necessarily physically, because I'm not going to sit there and just pound, pound, pound. No, I'm going to take your will mentally, thinking that you can't keep up. That's my goal. So that's and this is one way to do it, in my opinion. Again, spread the defense out, make them cover sideline to sideline, use a no huddle system, but that doesn't always mean lightning fast speed. All right, we can do quick, we can do check with me's, we can do all that. You practice it enough, you get good at it, and then you can go even faster and faster and faster. But that is another edge that you can add to make this offense just run that much more smoothly and be that much more potent or deadly, when it comes down the field. Because not only are you, attacking where the defense is not and then just taking their will that way, but on top of it, now you're tiring them out because they have to get to the line. They can't get checks because you're going fast. They can't really sub. So all those things factor into it, and it just wears down the defense in a different way. You hear about teams just that are just running football teams, and they're going to wear down the defense. That's true. They do. They do. The physical beating that they take, play after play after play. This is a different type of wearing the defense down. Are you physically beating them up? Yeah, a little bit. But not only that, but you are mentally taking their will, physically or mentally beating them up to the point where they may just quit because they're just tired, they're exhausted, they're confused. All those things play a factor because you've heard coaches from, way back when say that football is 20% physical, 80% mental. And that's true. That is true to some extent. Maybe the numbers are a little skewed there, but my goal is to not only beat you up physically, but I also want to take your will and beat you up mentally too, and not know what's coming and have to worry about a lot of different things. So again, throw quick, short passes, taking advantage of the space. Yeah, most quarterbacks can throw the ball 5 yards, 5 to 10 yards, um, and that's primarily what I'm looking for. Is I know I can find somebody that can throw those routes in those spaces. I know I can find somebody that can throw that. I'm not looking for someone that's going to throw the ball 50 yards on a rope every single play. No, don't need that. Would it be nice? Sure. Yeah, but how many quarterbacks are out there like that? Not very many. All right. So we find quarterbacks that you can rely on and can make the right decisions and make the easiest throws. That's what we want. So again, taking what the defense gives you, throw short, opens up the run game. It opens up the downfield passing. Not just relying on one or two horses. All right, so this is a big one here because you see in like youth football where an offense relies on just hand the ball off to the running back, 30 times a game, and all the other kids are just standing around just blocking, feeling useless. Well, no, in this offense, in my offense, in the air raid offense in general, you come out and you play defense against it, you have to legitimately worry about five guys, maybe even six if you count the quarter, or excuse me, five guys, maybe six if you count the quarterback too, but you have to worry about them all because they're all legitimate threats. You got the four running backs, or excuse me, the four receivers. So it would be five. My math was off. I apologize. So you have your four receivers, you have your running back, and then obviously you have your quarterback in the run game. So all of them are threats. All of them are going to get touches. All of them are going to score touchdowns. Trying to spread the ball around to as many people as we possibly can, trying to get touches to as many people. We're not just relying on one or two guys to lead the way because again, the more a defense has to worry about some certain things, they can't load up against the run, they can't load up against a particular player or double that player or bracket him or whatever it might be, because now what they've just done is they've screwed themselves on the other side of the field, with one of our other playmakers. So That is just another advantage that this offense provides because it provides you the options of going to multiple different targets on any given play. Tempo and style of the offense, that's what we're talking about next. Tempo does not always mean breakneck speed, but a good tempo is faster than most. So, in other words, when I say good tempo is faster than most, what I'm talking about is simply that we're not necessarily trying to huddle up because huddle up is a typical slow down tempo. Can we run a 4 minute offense? Sure. We just don't get the play in as fast. But I am trying to call plays quickly. One play is done, I'm looking for the next one. A lot of times I have it, depending on the situation. If it's a kind of a funky situation or a unique spot on the field at any given time. Now, granted, the play may take a little bit longer because I want to try and get us into the right play, but for the most part, that play is over. Players are jogging to where the ball is being spotted by the ref, and they are waiting for the next call. And we're going quick. We're not going super fast. Now we can get into a 2 minute offense if we need to and go super, super fast if we really, really wanted to. We have one word play calls. But for the most part, it's a quick tempo. Again, keeping the defense off balance, keeping them tired, um, uh, making it difficult for them to sub. Because again, if we catch them while they're in a substitution, then obviously that's a free 5 yards as potentially a free play. We could throw the ball downfield during that free play and possibly get it and steal away an easy touchdown that way. So there's a lot that goes into it. So primarily this offense is from shotgun. Almost I would say 95 to 100% it's from the shotgun with multiple formations and motions and shifts. And so the type of offense again, multiple formations, lots of motions, lots of shift. That is one thing that I truly, truly believe in, truly love is how can I make something look very, very multiple? How can I make it look, almost foreign in a way because I'm showing so many different things, but in the old reality, it's just our base stuff, just window dressed so much that it looks like a whole nother play. It looks like a whole nother formation, looks like a whole nother scheme. So that is my goal. So again, that brings me into my next point. Few schemes and concepts, a very, very small playbook. So firm believer, I don't know, remember what coach said it, but I've stolen it. So do a few things great as opposed to a bunch of things average. All right, I love that saying because it's so true. Because this offense, especially, is not one of those offenses that's going to come in there and just beat up a team that is just physically faster and stronger than you. All right, it's not meant for that. This offense was designed for that specific reason. When you come up against those teams that are physically stronger, physically faster than you, now you have your execution and you rely on your execution, and that's how you stay competitive, and that's how you beat these better teams physically. These physically better teams is by out executing. So we're gonna hang our hat on a few things and we're gonna do those great as opposed to just keep adding things and adding things and adding things. And yeah, we may get lucky every once in a while throughout the course of a season, but we're not gonna be consistent with it because we're just average at it. When we can focus on a few things and get great at those, and then once we get great at them, we can change them around and make them look a little bit different, but it's still the same thing and still be great. So this is one of my favorite parts right here. Aggressive play calling and execution at all times. That's just me as a mindset coach. That's my mindset as a personal coach is I want to be aggressive. I don't want to lay back. I want to be aggressive. I want to score as many points as I possibly can. All right, so I'm just going to go, 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 and I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to attack, attack, attack. So that's just my mindset as a coach, and I kind of develop that into my players that they have to have that kind of a mindset too. So, you've heard other coaches say that anytime you touch that ball, you're trying to score, right? Even if it's a 5 yard hitch, I don't care. It's a 5 yard hitch on our own 5 yard line. You're trying to score. You're trying to go 95, trying to go 95, and you're trying to score. So go score. And we will repeat that over and over and over at practice. And you've heard, I think Coach Salas said it, that, some of those small little throws are one missed tackle away from a huge play, like a hitch or a slant. Something that is so short and so easy is one missed tackle away from a huge play. And he could not be more right about that. It's absolutely right. And I emphasize that in practice. You will hear me telling that to my players a lot all season to the point where they actually get sick of it. So we are attacking at all times, always putting at least one defender and sometimes multiple defenders in conflict on every play. That's the name of the game with this offense is you are trying to put defenders in conflict. You're trying to make them make decisions, and no matter what decision they make, they're going to be wrong. Sometimes it's one defender, sometimes it's two defenders. Does not matter, but we are always trying to find that conflict player and how can we take advantage of them. It's going to be a balanced attack. You hear air raid. I know I talked about this earlier. You hear air raid and you immediately think, oh, they're going to throw 95% of the time, 90% of the time. No, it's not that true. Now, is it true sometimes? Sure, it is. If they are trying to if they are legitimately trying to take away the run game and we have to throw, then we're going to throw. And we're going to throw a lot. But if we can be balanced, that's what we want to be. We want to be balanced. 50-50, I'd be happy with it. I'd be happy, in high school, I doubt it would ever happen, but 250 and 250, if I get 250 on the ground, 250 in the air, that's perfect. I know that's a lot for high school, but that would be awesome. That'd be what I want. That'd be I'm averaging 500 yards of offense a game, and I'm a balanced attack. And obviously, the more balanced you are, the more defense has to worry about you, the more defense has to scout you out and prepare for you week in and week out. All right, so I'm gonna be very, very physical too. We're gonna be very physical at the point of attack, especially in the run game. But on top of that, in the open field, all right, you need to break tackles. You need to be physical to break tackles because that creates more yards. That creates explosive plays. So you need to be able to break tackles, and you need to be physical to be able to do that. So we're gonna be physical. We are. When I say physical, and you hear physical, you automatically think, oh, we're just gonna punch you in the mouth, 3 yards here, 3 yards there. We're just gonna pow, pow, pow. No, it don't work that way. That can be your type of offense, but that's not this type of offense. This type of offense is going to be physical. It's going to hit you in the mouth, but they're also going to be stronger, faster when they need to be in open space, breaking tackles, and getting yards. Next stop here is formations over plays, and I've kind of broken this down a little bit in previous videos. I'll have to go back and check which the titles of them, but um, and I will link certain related videos uh, in the description below that relate to some of this stuff, so you want to check that out. Um, so have a base 2x2 and a 3x1 formations. Those are your base. That's your foundation. And I've talked about this recently. I know that's your foundation. You build everything on top of that foundation. You can build into multiple 2x2 and 3x1 formations once skill player assignments and alignments are established. So once you've developed those base formations, whatever they might be. For ours, it would be ace, early, late. Those are our base formations right there. Sometimes maybe green or blue if we want to have two backs, but mainly it's ace and early and late. And so we establish our alignments there, and we establish our basic rules. Basic rules meaning if we call stick in a 2x2, and we call it to one side because I like to call, my split field concepts to either side. I don't like what the original air raid really has, where it's restricted to just the one side of the field. I like being able to do it multiple on both sides. So we go through step by step your certain basic responsibilities and roles if you're in this position. And then how does it change for a 3x1? What is the running back's responsibilities? How does it change in a 3x1 to a 2x2? And then from there, once that foundation is set and they understand it, then you put in the next layer. And then you give another formation. But if that other formation is a 3x1, the rules don't change. What number are you in the trip set? All right, because if you're still the number three receiver, even if it's a bunch set and you are still considered that three receiver, your three receiver responsibility is the same as it would be if it was an early, because that's a 3x1 set, and it does not change. So skill player alignments typically do not change unless we tag it. So yeah, we do add tags. We do add different things here from time to time, but for the most part, everything stays the same. Just the look stays the same. So I like to have more formations than I do plays. And I've talked about this before where I start off with four runs, four passes, four screens. And then we build off that obviously, but that's our foundation. That's our base. And we can almost do everything we want out of just those 12 plays, those four runs, four passes, four screens. We can do everything we want. Can we add tags? Sure, we can add tags. Yeah, we do. When we do, if we see something we could take advantage of. I mean, in a perfect world, I would not have to add any tags because all my stuff is working just fine. But we can add the tags, but having that base is huge. Okay, small playbook like I talked about. So I am a big proponent of more formations than you do plays. As long as you have basic rules that establish what the roles are for those particular skill players and try and make them as such so that they don't change even if you switch up formations. You know, your role is still the same. You're still that number three receiver in a trip set. So if we call stick to that side, what are you doing? And so if we call earlier, if we call bunch right, if we call, tight bunch, whatever it might be to the same side, you're still the third receiver. If we call that play, your rule is still that as it would be for that three receiver, that two receiver, that one receiver, that single side receiver. The running back roles change a little bit in 3-by-1 and 2-by-2, but we explain all that. So I can run any concept out of any formation once the base rules and alignments are established. That is the number one goal. All right, is so I can run anything I want out of any formation because I've laid out those rules, laid out those ground rules of okay, this is how it's going to be for a 3-by-1. This is how it's going to be for a 2-by-2, and then we just change that. And so then when we add in a new formation and we say it's still a 3-by-1 set, it just looks different. So you're still one, you're still two, you're still three. What is your job for stick? What is your job for corner? What is your job for fade out or mesh or whatever it might be? A lot of times it just has to deal with your split field concepts like your fade out, your stick, your corner, um, mesh, shallow, Y cross. Those are obviously full field reads, so obviously those would not change, and it would just be different aiming points as far as where the in launch points from where the receivers are taking off doing their routes. But mainly, I'm talking about like split field concepts. Touching more on the basic rules, I just touched on it a little bit in the last segment there. So foundational rules for each skill player are established based on the 2-by-2 and 3-by-1 sets. So yeah, like I just mentioned, and I'm not going to reiterate it again, but just we give them basic rules. That's what I want to do is I want to make it easy. So give them basic rules. And then how does that translate to different formations? These rules stay the same no matter what 2-by-2 or 3-by-1 set they are in. So we explain to them your role is a number three receiver, number two receiver, number one receiver, single receiver, whatever it might be. Your roles don't change based on the formation. All right, because you're still the number one, number two, number three. That's what the important thing. Where you are in that formation, what number receiver you are. Typically for split field concepts, like I talked about, stick and corner, players need to understand that particular motions can change their role on a particular play. Yeah, when we start adding motions, obviously it changes something a little bit. So, for example, if we start in ace and we motion H across the field and we call stick to the right side, he is now the number three receiver. So, in other words, we have Z and we have Y over there. He is now, if we run stick out of a 3-by-1 set, the number three always runs the flat route. Number two is always the concept or the stick route. And then number one is running that vertical or that post. Now all of a sudden we just motioned him over, and now we went from a 2-by-2 set to a 3-by-1 set. And for the running back, if he's on the side of the trips, his number one rule for that we make it is if we call a passing concept that he is that essentially is a split field concept, he always swings away from the trip. So we just created trips, so that tells him I have to swing away. Unless we keep him in for pass pro, I have to swing away. So does it require a little bit of thinking at first? Yes. Is it slow at first to teach? Yes. But the magic is in the repetition and practice. You just keep repping it and repping it and repping it and repping it, and eventually that light bulb turns on. So typically for split field concept, okay, players need to understand that particular motions can change the role. We just talked about that. Repetition in practice for players to fully grasp each rep gets easier and it gets faster. It is. All of a sudden you will hit, and I can't tell you when that magic rep happens. That magic rep just comes. It just happens, and all of a sudden you say, they got it. And you can see it on the field. But the problem is where you don't see that magic rep happen is if you just keep adding things. If you keep adding things at a very, very fast pace, and you're not focused on your base stuff, then obviously that magic rep is not going to happen. It may not happen for a while, or it may not happen at all. But if you keep it simple, keep it small, And then once they've grasped that, and you will notice when they do, because for a lot of times you can just signal it in practice and they can just go. Then that's when that magic rep happens, and that's when you realize, okay, they got it now. Now we can work at a much faster pace, and then we can slowly start introducing more things. But if you add in a bunch of stuff all at once, it's not going to work right, especially in this type of offense, which relies on the reps, it relies on the execution. So we talk about motions and shifts. Again, I'm a big motion guy. I love shifts. I basically would have a motion and a shift almost every single play, sometimes multiple ones. So introduced very early in the installation process. This is probably where I differ a little bit from other area coaches. Is in my installation process, I am including motions into it. So I am introducing them very early. I like to have at least 4 to 5 motions in the offense, and these are base motions. And so some of the motions are built into the actual play call, others are signaled in, and others are tagged and on wristbands. So I have a lot of motions, a lot of things we do as far as moving players around. It could be a fast and a slow motion as well as large group pre-snap shifts, excuse me. So where we show up, we line up maybe in a clustered group of a 4 by 1 on one side. All of a sudden, then we just transfer real quickly to early and we go. All right, before the defense has a chance to really align or set their strength or whatever it might be. So a lot of motions, a lot of shifts, a lot of movement in our offense. Meant to get an idea of how a defense may align to a formation, causes the defense to declare certain responsibilities by responding to motion, and also meant to out leverage defense or create numbers advantage at the point of attack. That is right there. That is what I'm trying to do with motion. I'm trying to gain an advantage, and I'm trying to gather information. Those are the two main things: gain information and then gain an advantage. And how can I gain an advantage after I've gained that information? Um, Trying to create confusion and multiple looks a defense has to prepare and think about. Yeah. So, you've heard me talk about it before. If you watched some of my previous videos, is that my belief is once you have a defense thinking, you've won. So if I can get them thinking about multiple things or thinking about what potentially is coming next, and then while the play is snapped, they are still thinking because they don't necessarily recognize what's coming, then they can't react to the ball. They can't fire to the ball as fast. And that gives us that just much more of an advantage, an execution advantage, or whatever it might be, to execute our play and continue to move the chains and potentially have big explosive plays. So all of that falls into the realm of motions and why I use them and why I love them. So I'm a huge motion guy. And I love it, and it's a big part of my offense. So that's why I put it in very early and are repping it like crazy in practice. Leave in a small, simple playbook. Okay, so like I said before, 4 runs, 4 passes, 4 screens are the typical base playbook installed. That's what we start off with. Usually, no more than 15 total plays are added to the total playbook in general. So it might be an added few more as a course, but after that is what we're going with. But the next thing is wrinkles and changes will be added week to week based on the week. But yeah, do we add certain things? Absolutely. Do we add full on plays? No, we add little wrinkles and changes here and there that make you can make, like, for example, stick. I did a video on it where I did 4 ways you can disguise stick. Okay, we just do little changes here and there, and you can make the original stick play that they may see 1,000 times on film. All of a sudden, it looks like 50 to 60 different plays because we've done little things. We've moved a player here, moved a player there, or we fast motioned them, or put them in a different spot, whatever it might be. But it's still the same play. It's still stick. At the end of the day, it's still stick. But how can you make it look different and still be able to run it at a fast pace? How can you execute it at a high level? Um, Half field concepts will also be added to use as backside concepts so we can tag them. So yeah, I do like adding some backside concepts to our half field schemes or half field concepts. Like for example, one thing I'm starting to really like now is dagger on the backside. So I'm looking into that a little bit. So that's one I'm starting to kind of mess with and toy with a little bit too as well. But a lot of times it's hitches and slants, and sometimes it's some screens in the backside. But we will add in some other backfield some backside half field concepts too. So keep it simple. It's not about the plays, but the execution of those plays. So obviously, the more you have to practice, the less execution you're going to have. The not as I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, as potent you're going to be. Okay, you're not going to be as strong or as fast because you're not moving as fast speed because you're not as comfortable with it yet. Your player's not as comfortable with it. So that's why you keep it simple. The simpler you have it, the faster you can go, the better execution you're going to get. Lineman friendly. So told you I'm not necessarily that this is probably one of my weaker points in the offense is where I need to get better. I will fully admit that. Um, and I'm trying to learn every day to try and figure out ways to get better at this. But I want to simplify because not only simplifying it for my players, but also for me, so it helps me understand, so I don't get confused. Because quite honestly, in my opinion, playing offensive lineman is probably the hardest spot on the uh, on the entire field for the most part because they have a lot of rules when it comes to blocking that they have to follow, and a lot of things to remember. You know, with alignments, with gaps, there's so many things that go into it that it's tough to keep track of. So my goal is to simplify the blocking structure to allow linemen to be successful because again, the linemen are almost like the defense. The less they have to think about, the more they are able to do what they do, and that is to either protect the quarterback or spring our playmakers open in space. Passing game is designed to be short, quick strike attacks, so it does not rely on the lineman maintaining their protection for long. So yeah, you're not going to see 7 yard or 7 step drops in this offense. You're not. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to have these huge play actions where, he's rolling out and the offense linemen are supposed to roll with him and protect him for 5 seconds until a play develops downfield 30 yards. No, we're not doing that. That ball should be gone in less than 3 seconds, if that. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to throw short. If we are throwing, throw short and let the playmaker do what he does in space. That's it. And so that allows the lineman, it's a very friendly to the O-line because they're not holding on to their pass protections for very long. At least they shouldn't be. If they are, then that's the quarterback's fault. He's not getting rid of the ball. But so we're trying to make it a little bit easier on the lineman, less for them to remember. So I like a lot of 5-man protections because I like the running. I like having more receivers and more options for the quarterback to throw the ball to, as I believe that gives you more areas on the field to attack. And so the more areas in the field you can attack, the more space there's going to be. Therefore, that in turn equates to the ball's out faster, which means that the linemen are holding their blocks less. So obviously, physicality for a lineman is a must. That you got to be strong, you got to have good feet. You got to be willing to take a pounding because I mean, regardless of if it's the wing T, whether it's the power I, whether it's the air raid, linemen get beat up every single play because they are the ones that are making contact every single play. So yeah, you got to be physical. You got to win your one-on-one battles. Sometimes you're going to come up against a guy that's bigger, stronger, faster. You still have to win that one-on-one matchup. So large splits. This is one thing that helps out our offensive linemen. I borrowed this from like Coach Patrick Taylor talking about wide splits, and I think this is genius and it's smart, and I use it. So we'll help push the defense wider. So they have to cover gaps. So now all of a sudden their gaps have gotten a little bit wider. So they have to stay in the middle of those gaps. Um, a lot of times defensive ends they align to the tackle. So if you push the tackle out further, defensive end's got to go out further. And what does that do in the meantime? That creates space. And this is where I got from Patrick Taylor is the line that says more space equals more time. And he could not be more true. If you've never read the article that he wrote about that, go find the article that he wrote about offensive linemen. It's fabulous. Um, he could not be more true because obviously the further you stretch them out, that's the further distance they have to go to get to the quarterback. So in essence, you've created a longer path for them to run, More space equals more time for the quarterback to get through his progressions, make a read, and make a throw. Most important one probably is practice equals execution. Simple practice plans that have clear objectives for each day. So you gotta have a point of emphasis for each day. You have to, okay? Whether you really want to focus in on this one or two plays, whether it be one in the running game, one in the passing game, maybe your screen game a little bit. You have to have a point of emphasis for each day. Um, practice is focused on getting as many reps as possible. We're going trying to go fast. All right, whether we are in indie drills, whether we are in group drills, whether we are a team, we're trying to go fast. Go fast, get as many reps, whether it's routes on air, whatever it might be. Go, 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 go. Get the reps because that essentially turns into your conditioning as well. If you're going fast, constantly going, there's not much downtime, and you're going and getting as many reps as possible. That is the key to being great at those few things that we talked about earlier. Repetitions translate to execution in the game. They do. It's I don't want to say it, you can't prove, but in a way you can because you see the result on the field that as time goes on, the offense gets better and better and better and faster because they're getting more comfortable. It's becoming second nature. It's becoming almost like muscle memory for them. Drills are generated with a purpose, groups with schemes and concepts on that particular day. So again, like I talked about, a day has to have a specific point of focus. All right, so if you want to focus on stick, then maybe have some drills that deal with stick. Or if you want to focus on your screen game, if you want to focus in on inside zone, really focus heavy and have some good drills for that inside run period. Tempo is used at practice every day. It needs to be second nature for the kids. Yeah, so you got to be used to the tempo. You got to be used, especially during team. They have to be used to seeing signals if that's what you're going to do. They have to be used to having those wristbands and looking at them. And you need to be going fast. You need to be going fast, but they need to be used to it. All right, they need to be used to it. They need to be constantly getting to the line, looking at the sideline, waiting for the call. That has to become a habit. And how do you create that habit? And how do you create that routine? That is done early. It is done as soon as they learn those formations, as soon as they learn one play. All right, line up in this, line up in this, line up in this. One thing I always had them do was immediately just line up an ace no matter what. I will call a formation. If it's not ace, then you're gonna line up an ace. And if I call a different formation, then we shift to that formation. But you're always lining up an ace unless I tell you otherwise. And then you'd be doing that at practice. Last little bit here is strive to get better. You're trying to get better. I mean, you're trying to get better every single day. So I don't know why you're not. If you're not trying to get better, then you're probably in the wrong profession when it comes to football coaching. We are all trying to get better. We're trying to get our players best, bring out the best versions of themselves that we possibly can, and we're trying to be the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can too. So we are striving to get better as much as possible every single day. So understand that nothing is ever a finished product. All right, you can always improve something. There's always room for improvement. Um, think about it like this when it comes to especially practice. Wasted reps equal wasted days. So if your players just going through the motions, if they are half-assing it through drills, they are wasting that day, and they've just lost that day. You're not going to get it back. So you got to make sure, to the best of your ability, that you are not wasting reps at practice. Those reps are valuable. All right, so it's almost like gold. It's almost like a currency that you're getting paid with every single rep. As you're getting better with every single rep. Make sure they have a mindset of they are never going to get outworked. Don't let themselves get outworked. All right, jobs are always up for grabs. That means that when you are having your individual periods, when you're having one-on-ones, wide receivers versus DBDs, these jobs are up for grabs. All right, starting cornerback, starting receiver, starting Z receiver, X, whatever it might be, they're up for grabs here. You're going to win the battle right here. Make sure you emphasize that in practice. That is one thing that I try and do as much as possible, making sure that we are competing. That leads to my next point here. Encourage competition every day. You are competing every single day because what do you do on Friday nights? You are competing on Thursday nights. You are competing against your opponent. So get used to that competition in practice and compete with your teammates every single day because you're going to make each other better. Focus on your weaknesses. So find your weaknesses. Everyone's got them. Everyone's got the weaknesses. Find them and try and improve on them every day. You've heard that Coach Mackey say a long time ago, get 1% better every day. Believe in that full heartedly. That is a great quote. and everybody should live by. If you can improve that to 5% every day, that'd be even better. But strive to get better, and you will see the improvements in your offense. And this lays out my entire philosophy on this offense. So hope you enjoyed it. Probably pretty long by now. I don't really know the time, but I imagine it's probably pretty long. Thank you for sitting through it. I appreciate that. If you have any questions, hit them down in the comments below. Be happy to answer them. Also, if you do anything different or if there's anything that you would add to this presentation, please let me know. I apologize if I haven't gotten to this video before, that I never realized that I never made this video yet, but this is my philosophy on the offense essentially. I'm probably leaving some things out, but again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.